So without further ado, we'll start with Ella. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everybody. So my name's Ella and I studied a bachelor's degree in physics at Queen Mary University in London. I did astrophysics and after 3 years of the bachelor's, I was quite ready to forget everything that I'd learned and put it all behind me and to say no more to physics. And so I went to work on an olive farm in Italy because I wanted to go somewhere I'd never been before and do something that I'd never done before and kind of realise that the world is a little bit larger than just maths. And then I kind of fell in love with the country. I really fell in love with Italy, and so I came back to England to get my bicycle, and then I cycled like through Netherlands and Germany and then back down to Italy. And quite by chance, I met a woman who then offered me a job as an English teacher. And so I decided to live in a little town in the south of Italy for a year, and I taught English to kids from 3 to 15 years old. And to be quite honest, this was something I was utterly unqualified for. My main qualification there was that I was a native English speaker, but it was such a fantastic experience, and I cannot recommend enough just getting on a bicycle and seeing where that takes you for a while. But after a while, I started to kind of feel the itch, the science itch, and I remembered that I'd also by chance met a woman in Germany, in the north of Germany, who'd recommended a master's degree for me. And this was a very interesting master's degree because it was about climate, which I think is in my opinion, it's the most pressing issue of our time. And what was really interesting about this course is that it was an integrated master's. So it had a physics strand and a biogeochemistry strand and a economics, like social sciences strand. And so kind of taking all these components together to look at the climate system as a whole. And I got an email reminder to say that I was doing this master's. I was interested in it, and I applied by chance. And I think this is where my bachelor's degree really came in useful, because I was actually very overqualified in terms of maths credits for this degree. And I was accepted, and actually it's a very wonderful course. It's very small, there's only 14 members from all over the world. This is another aspect of the course, it's like international, so like we're 14 different countries and we're trying to examine the climate. And yeah, so that's what I'm currently doing. So my master's is in Hamburg University in Germany. Another good thing I think I should mention about studying in Germany is that I pay 300 euros. These are my fees. This is like money that I actually have in my bank account that I can put to my education. Like, I'm not in debt from this. And I think this is really wonderful and should be considered. You don't need to get into a lot of debt. Sorry, my over time.
No, it's fine, Ella. But there's a lot of thoughts here which I hope people can ask questions about, because financial and also traveling to Europe aspects to do other types of career is really important and does take a lot of bravery. Like Ella said, not everyone can just get on a bicycle and just go to an olive farm and teach small children English. I know I would not be able to do that. So I'd like to introduce Henry next.
Hi everyone, my name's Henry, and I guess one story that sort of echoes with Ella's is when you're leaving your undergraduate, or actually any stage of formal education, you have this idea that work is going to be the one job that or the one career strain that takes you through the rest of your life until retirement. You're thinking, oh my God, how do I make this decision about the rest of my life? Like, do I want to work in banking? Well, maybe I'd be a great teacher. Or maybe I want to be a TV presenter. And because we're all humans and we've got all these strands to our personalities, it can feel super daunting. And you're like, God, maybe I should have just done the medicine degree because then I would have just been a doctor. And it's so easy. You should just like go from A to B. But actually, it's that sort of indecision and uncertainty about what you're going to do that really helps you sort of live a fuller life. I mean, maybe that's coming from my perspective as someone who's been relatively successful at chopping and changing. So to give you some background, so I did an undergraduate degree in physics. And I probably spent, I was a relatively, I think I left with a first class degree. I was pretty good. My tutors were like, PhD, you want to do projects here, there. But I probably spent most of my time reading poetry, going to plays. I loved physics and the questions about the world and the way we like think, and I actually really enjoy doing maths, but I was thinking, well, do I actually want to be an academic? Do I want to work in physics? The answer is no. So after my undergraduate degree, I actually worked in bookshops. So I got a job in Waterstones. And I mean, I was in my early 20s, and it was probably the funnest period of my life. Okay, I wasn't earning £40,000 a year. I was probably earning closer to £15,000 a year, which is not a great amount of time, but I was sort of meeting lots and lots of people from a broad spectrum of people. I knew this wasn't going to be my forever job, but it was time to like reset my journey going forward. And I worked in bookshops for about 3 years. And in that 3 years, because I had an interest in books anyway because I'm an avid reader, but I like moved to be like a bookstore manager after like 2-3 years. So the actual progression in Waterstones was quite easy for me, and I like got quite senior. I was looking after a bookshop, and I was like, I love it. It's fun. It's interesting, but it's not my forever job. And then from that, I found out that a course in science communication, as Ella said, the science itch came back. I was like, I've still got all these questions about the world and how to solve issues, but I don't know if I actually want to be the one sitting behind that lab every day trying to answer that question. I want to learn about, I don't know, robotics one day. I want to like learn about climate science the next. And I thought science communication like brings together those elements of my own personality that I love. So my like analytical nature with science, but also brings out this other element where I like art, drama, books, novels, and it sort of like folded all those skills that I see in myself as a person. And I did a master's in science communication. And from there, it sort of exploded because once I'd sort of found that niche, it sort of led me to work at CERN in Geneva for a year. And then I worked in the Wellcome Collection. And then I worked as a freelance reporter for the BBC making news. And it was always very uncertain. So I was like moving from like 6 months having a different job here and there. But what suited me as a person is it was really enjoyable and freeing. And I mean, I sort of get itchy feet after every 1.5 years in a job because I couldn't be a teacher because I've just been like, I've done the curriculum once. I don't want to do it again. So that's me as a person. And I identified that, which has really pushed me into the current role I'm in now, where I'm at UCL. And I look after the quantum research across UCL, which is from diverse places like medical testing using diamonds to like theoretical quantum mechanics to building quantum computers. And it's all these different stories that are, at the moment, at a time going through great flux, so the actual technology is expanding. So it's a really interesting area to write and talk about. And that's where I am now, but I'm only 30 at the moment, and I'm not going to be in this job forever. And I want to see how my life and role evolves as we go forward. So I think my main takeaway is don't think of your career as being one strand in one field, because those skills that you learn in your physics degree, like, you don't realize you're even learning them. You don't realize you're becoming a very like analytical person who can bring all those traits to other roles. And you meet people with history degrees who are trying to do a job in publishing, but they don't quite have that same analytical thought behind doing certain tasks that you do in a physics degree. And it is a real benefit. I mean, you need to then complement that with other interests and other interests. So I wouldn't say go get a publishing degree if you've never read a book before, but like, you need to find that other strand that you can like weave with your physics like skills, and then you're like someone that people want to hire. That's I've spoken enough. I'll move on.
No, it's Henry. It's all wonderful, and thanks so far from you and Ella's introduction. We have got a load of questions, so I'm now going to introduce you to Anna, who has also took yet another career path from physics, and once again it's another diversity. So over to you, Anna. You're muted, babe. Okay. I've asked you to...
Perfect. Thank you so much. First, I'm about to announce that I work in tech, and the fact that I couldn't unmute myself is probably awful there. So I am Anna. I studied a physics degree at Queen Mary's. I did just my BSc. To be honest, even deciding to go into the physics career, I was just sort of following the subject that I kind of enjoyed at school. And kept going. I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do with it, but everybody kept saying there's a wealth of opportunities that you can have. You can go on to do a whole wide range of different things. So I thought, yeah, sure, that's going to open everything up for me. So yeah, when I graduated, I'd already had a pretty tough time of it. I remember going to events like this, and a lot of the panelists that were sat here, they'd done internships. They were all graduating with firsts, that kind of thing. And there was me having been rejected from every single internship that I possibly applied for. I was sitting with a 2-1, unsure what I was going to do. And I'd applied in my final year, I think, for over 300 jobs just to see if I could get anything. I interviewed 24 times, a lot of them like getting through to the final round before them being like, yeah, we've just gone with someone with a little bit of experience. And I was like, oh God, this is awful. But with strong perseverance, and after working in a restaurant, I think for 3 months, I finally got hired by a consultancy company who specifically hire from STEM degrees to go into technology. So I decided that sort of data was something that I really wanted to work with, because it is very logical. And I think the main thing that we learn in our physics degree is how to sort of solve problems. And I think that's a huge thing that people don't necessarily tell you while you're doing it, that you are actually phenomenal at solving problems in comparison to a lot of people that you're going to meet in the workplace. So this consultancy, they had decided that this was the right way to go. They were going to take from STEM degrees and they were going to teach them how to code in a bunch of different languages, because it was really easy once you got all these kind of analytical skill sets that we've talked about, to be able to just translate that into just learning how to write code. That was brilliant. So I did 4.5 months of training, and then was placed at a client for 2 years, which for me happened to be the Bank of England. So I've worked on all sorts of projects with varying different technologies, stuff that honestly, if you told me in my final year I was going to have to do, bear in mind I wouldn't touch a computer. It was wild. It was really interesting to be able to see all of the different things that I could do if I just sort of put my mind to it. And really just tried, which is sort of the scrappy sort of fighting spirit that you need when you go into the world of work, I think, especially as a young adult, like definitely. So yeah, I worked for them for 2 years, and then they absorbed me, which is genuinely the word they use. They absorbed me as a full-time member of staff. And I worked there for another year, again, making sure that I was moved teams so that I got a sight or a view of different technologies and working with different projects and different managers and that kind of thing, just trying to gather as much experience as I could in one place. And then in December, I accepted a job offer for TFL. also to be a data engineer. So I have moved over last week, was my first time at TFL. So that's where I'm at now, after lots of struggling, I think, and having no idea what I was going to do. So I think if you're going to take anything away from me, it's just that you really can do anything if you just really try.
I mean, every person's story here is so unique and so wonderful and so inspiring, because there is no correct path for finding a career after doing a STEM degree, especially a physics degree. So on Slido, as a lot of you can tell, you can upvote questions, meaning if you want to ask the same question that somebody's already written, you can upvote it. So it means popular questions get asked first, or at least I can see them on my screen quicker. So I think we'll kick off with this question. Okay, a new one's been upvoted. Throw me off track. So we'll start with this one. How do you establish long-term security when you have itchy feet? I worry I flirt too much. Flit, sorry. I'm so sorry for flit too much, and I'll end up 30 and with a weak network plus job. So should we start with Henry with that?
Yeah, I said I was 30, so I guess that. But 30 is not the end of your life. But I know it seems like that when you're leaving your undergraduate or whatever point you're at. But I guess the thing is, you need to, if you want to be, I mean, there's going to be like some scale of like risk and comfortability. So you need to make that decision for yourself. I mean, I'm currently in a job at UCL, which is relatively well paid for the sector because I'm in higher education. But then I look at other people that I know who've worked in sort of print journalism, etc. You won't be earning £40,000 until you're like a senior editor, because that's the money in that sector. And if you look at others, you need to look per sector. And if you will have a good network by the time you're 30, if you're constantly changing jobs and like talking to lots of new people, it just naturally builds up. And actually lots of jobs, unfortunately, I don't want to raise the nepotism word, but comes through contacts and people you know and people you talk to. And not in terms of them just giving you the job. I mean, sometimes that happens, but sometimes it's just like knowing the opportunities that are available and out there. And if you're in contact with loads of people, so there's one academic who was my tutor, creative writing, when I was doing my physics degree. So it was like a little side module. And she emails me every time there's like a great PhD placement in like AI and something, or like there's a writing competition coming out, and she'll email me and be like, this is great for you, you should apply and do it. And I never do it. But like, it's great to have those people out there in your network who see opportunities and see that for you. And I think, don't worry is my advice, because I think I had that same worry when I was working in the bookshop, thinking, am I just going to be in this bookshop forever? And I could have been if I just decided to stay there. You also do need to sort of push and make that leap and try things. Or if you're not comfortable with that, then you go down a more structured route. I mean, that's also good for other people. I just knew it wasn't for me.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant advice. Would either Ella or Anna like to add anything to that? Because apparently we've got quite a burning question coming up in a minute. Oh, guys, keep yourself.
Sorry, yeah. No, I like
muted.
Completely agree with Henry. I think that was very good advice. I would also just like to stress that life doesn't end at 30, or like that. There is some kind of age when you achieve success, or should.
Yeah,
that means.
I don't want to jump in on you, but I remember being sort of 20 and constantly worrying about my other friends who had been like gone into like certain jobs and were like at a certain point in their career. And I even see it now when I'm 30. I see friends who are like putting down payments on and mortgages for houses and things, and that's not where I am.
No, but it's
But then
about different priorities.
Yeah, but then I look at my life and I'm like, they've been sat in an office for 10 years.
Exactly.
I've had like 8 jobs and been around the world and done lots of really cool stuff that I think has enriched my life more than me being able to get a mortgage. Maybe. Ask me in 10 years.
I think I would also say, try everything you want. Try absolutely everything you want. It's better to make all your mistakes early on, or try something out and find out it's not something you want to do and then move into something else. Also, everywhere you go, you're going to meet loads of people. And like we've seen from the other panelists, like if you meet more people, there's going to be more opportunities present themselves. And you might find that there's going to be some wild things get suggested to you that you can go and give a go. And it is really important to sort of broaden those horizons. So don't panic if you are unsure about what you're starting. Like I think it was Henry said, if you start something and you're not enjoying it, just don't think that you're stuck in that job for the rest of your life. You've not chosen just one route. You can go away after a year and just change your mind. You can always reserve the right to change your mind.
I quit a job after 2 weeks because I was coming home every night and crying. Yeah. I was like the deputy editor of a national news service, and I was like, this is horrible. Why does anyone do this? Because it wasn't me. And I was like, do you know what? In 6 months, I'll learn all these amazing skills and I'll be great at it, but I'll be miserable for all that time. And I actually stood back and was like, life stays short.
I also realized this can make people quite anxious, sort of, because I realized that throughout school and university, especially, you followed a very rigid structure and you've always kind of known what the next step is going to be. Your 20s are the first chance that you kind of get to just go out there and try stuff. And people can be nervous about doing that, but don't be. It's going to be really fun. You might end up in a place that you really didn't expect at all.
I mean, one of the major concerns for me is I want to make it clear, like in terms of like financial security net, I didn't have one. Like I come from a really working class family in Scotland. Essentially, if like I turned around and asked my mum for money, she'd be like, a fiver? So like, she's not going to be able to like help me pay my rent in London. So it's not that I've just been like, oh yeah, I can just quit this job and I rely on my parents to pay my rent. I was actually, well, if I quit my job, I'll just need to get a job. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
And that really drives you. I mean, it's not a comfortable feeling, but it's, sorry. A negative bit. Yeah, but I think it's important.
It's positive because it means that we can get these jobs and we can do these amazing things no matter what background. So never put yourself in the box society puts you in, that you should just do this because you come from this. The glass ceiling has shattered. We just need to keep pushing up and supporting one another to rise up to where we want to be. Sorry, I do a lot of events, so I say a lot of these big kind of metaphorical statements, so I do apologize. Now, this question is very popular, and I'm going to aim it at Ella to begin with, because as you've noticed, 2 people on this panel both went to Queen Mary, and I know their activities behind the scenes from their physics degrees, like in a good way. So did you do extra stuff besides the degree in physics that helped you with the jobs you have/had? So that could be internships or activism they did or anything along those lines. So Ella, may I put that question to you first?
Yes, sure. Well, I did do an internship in my second year, which was kind of organised with this SEPNet, Southeastern Physics Network. I don't know if that's still running, but that was like a summer internship, and it was again this like recommended thing that you do, in your second year, you get an internship in the summer, which was useful in that I guess I learned I didn't want to go into remote sensing imagery, but nonetheless was a very interesting experience, and like has definitely helped my CV. And
yeah, I mean, those experiences that tell you what not to do are as valuable as the experience, but also maybe you get to the end of something like Ella described, and it's still on your CV. You don't enjoy it, but it's there, Yeah,
and I don't know how important that is, but like, yeah, is that enough of an answer, or do you want to?
Yeah, no, exactly. So Ella did an internship, and also whilst you were at Queen Mary, also did within some societies as well, which is always useful to put in your CV. Anything that you do that uses skills where it isn't just you wake up, go to lectures, you know, brush your teeth and go to bed. Any of those things, being involved in societies, it's always good to have, because there could be just something on your CV that the person reading it goes, oh, you did that, that would be a perfect fit, or hey, I want more of that in our work environment. So it's all wonderful. Have any of you got anything to add to that? Because I can move on to
yes, that it's okay if you also didn't get an internship or didn't join other things. You have to remember, at the end of the day, you have a physics degree. It is not any small feat to have achieved that in any way, shape, or form. And you can spin anything into something much bigger than it really was in the beginning. I remember going to one of my job interviews, and I think it was actually for the consultancy that I got, and talking about how much I loved Sims. Like the game, I just talked about it and how I'd been dedicated to it for a number of years, and they were like, actually, yeah, we really liked your dedication to that. And I was like, thank you, it's been a good 14 years, thanks. So anything you do is, you can always find a way to spin it so that, and plus people are trying to hire somebody they want to be with for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. They don't want to be with someone like necessarily that doesn't get on with their company culture. So I think if you're going for jobs, just look at what their culture is like and the kind of thing that they want you to sort of do and the kind of thing they want to be invested in, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I mean, my only sort of pointed advice for science communication is, if you want a job in print, join your student newspaper. Even just write one article in your whole undergraduate degree. Even if you're leaving in like 3 months, go away and just pitch an article right now if you want to go in, just so there's like some whisper of a printed thing somewhere on a website, and that's all you need. And that's like just the like first drip of like getting into that sector anyway. You just need, because nobody's going to hire you if you've written nothing, because like everyone can say they're a great writer, but you sort of need some sort of portfolio, and that's just the area, unfortunately. But my advice is, if you're passionate about stuff, like, try and do stuff with that. I mean, that doesn't have to be a skill. So I was the president of the knitting society in my university, mainly because I went with a friend who didn't want to go alone, being the only male going. So I was like, okay, I'll go, but I don't really want to learn how to knit. And then those things moved on, and I'm now too much of a knitter. But that line on my CV is number one, the thing that most people ask me about in my interview. They're like, knitting society president, because it's just like, so it just like means you're like not just a physics graduate that's applied to something, and it just means that you're outside the box and they like it.
I would just like totally agree with this point about this science communication. So I recently got rejected from a job, actually, because I haven't written anything before, but I just now realized, like, wow, science communication is so cool. And what you should recognize is that if you're in university now, you have so many opportunities open to you that actually, once you're not in that environment, you're not going to have. So like, don't feel like, and I said, don't feel like pressured that you need to do everything, but like, just kind of be aware that this is a really cool space for kind of getting engaged.
Yeah, I mean, a student newspaper are begging you to write for them because they need text. A normal print magazine is like, no, we've got writers who can write. We don't need someone who's never written anything to write for us. So I think if you want to go into that type of role, you need to think, well, actually, I need a bit of a portfolio. And that can be anything. That can be like writing a blog on Medium. But you do need to put some extra work in there, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes. Sorry.
So the next question, I think I'm going to push to Anna, because it's what does a job in the finances look like?
This entirely depends what you want to do. I can talk from a technical perspective. It's certainly, I think when I did my training, especially, there was I think a group of 30 of us taken in, and we all got placed in very different positions. So I went to the Bank of England, which is not, it is finance, but it's not quite like finance. It's sort of more government run. It's going to be less working hours. However, the other people who got placed in bigger banks, yes, the salaries were much higher, but they will work you much harder. if you're going in from a technical perspective, and everything will be very time sensitive. You've really got to have a strong backbone.
But you will get a gift basket to make up for all of that. Did you see that in the news?
Which you will have to declare.
Yeah.
But yes, the finance sector it's gonna push you hard. There's gonna be big rewards, and I will say that everyone who's gone into those teams, they are very much like a family. They work together to get things over the line. It's not like a hostile environment where anybody's gonna like be out to get you or fire you and stuff like that. But working really, really, really hard in those sectors is sort of something to expect if you go that way. And tech is so massive that you can work in any industry, any of them whatsoever. Like clothing industry, media. I'm now working with transport. I was working with Bank of England. It's everywhere needs technology. So if you have a particular passion for something, but you're also quite good at tech and would just like to be in that environment, pick your environment. Tech's a good one to go for if you're looking for many options.
Yeah, just to echo, lots of my friends who did their undergraduate degree with me and then even went on to do PhDs. Essentially, when you become a physicist, most of you will learn how to code quite well. And like now lots of my friends work for like Blizzard in the States, and like they do game design or they do like coding for other things. So, you know, you have like, if coding is your thing, I mean, it's an essential skill, but not one that I am particularly proficient at. So
just to add on to about coding, not all universities in STEM or physics offers dedicated courses. If you have time, do pick it up, because lots of different sectors really look for that. But also, if coding isn't your thing, that's okay too. There's many jobs still out there that doesn't involve coding. There's also different ways to get around coding. Like, you might not want to go straight with stripped back C++ or something like that. You might want something maybe a bit more gentler, like MATLAB or Mathematica. I mean, I'm doing a PhD and I sometimes put my fingers into in more interesting code, but most of the time I don't, because I'm scared of coding. So, you know, it's genuinely like, I think the biggest point that we've been stressing is like, you can do this, you can not do this, but it's all okay. There's no right or wrong. So I'm gonna just
on the tech perspective as well. The majority of your job in tech is not going to be sitting down and writing code. That was what I thought I was going to be doing when I got in there. I thought I'd be speaking to absolutely nobody. I'd be just walking in there every day and just writing code, and that'd be it. 80% of your time is spent trying to problem solve with the person that's asking you for something, because they have no idea how stuff's going to fit together, and that is where a physics degree really shines.
So that's perfect. It's all problem solving, and it's so beautiful. Now, this question is, I think I will start with Ella, because she just mentioned an experience. Then I will go on to Anna, because she mentioned some experience, and then we'll finish with Henry. And this is a really heartfelt question: is how do you deal with job rejection citing inexperience?
Well, in my recent case, I just had to hold my hands up and be like, yes, I don't have experience. But not to be deterred, I think, is the key. Like, if this is something you think is really cool and worth your time, so like now I've started writing for a blog, so that for the next year, when this opportunity comes around again, I'm gonna like smash that interview, you know? And like, or maybe I'll find a different job on the way that I think is interesting, but like kind of whatever interview it is, whether it's like for a job or academic or personal, like you just eventually learn the hard way to pick yourself up and dust yourself down and carry on.
So Anna, over to you with
it was tough.
Can I just say I'm proud of Anna? I'm so proud of Anna.
Yeah, we're so proud of Anna.
Honestly, it was tough. I'm not going to lie. So for starters, I also applied for like all of the SEPNet internships. So that was the year before. So I was already preparing myself mentally for the fact that I was going to get rejected for a lot of stuff. However, I started working for like Deliveroo, I worked for restaurants, I worked in catering, I got to visit like royal palaces and things and work with the royal family. It was wild. So all of that other stuff helped a lot. It's not necessarily just getting internships and stuff like that can do that. Most people need social skills. They need to be able to work in a professional environment, that kind of thing. And honestly, with the rejection, the thing that just kept me going is the fact that I really didn't want to have to move back home with my parents. I love London. I'm from like right up near the Scottish border. I did not want to do that. I wanted to stay down here. So that was a big motivator. I was like, I have to find something, I think, as Henry said earlier. The second thing I did was every single time I got rejected, I applied for at least 3 more, which is probably why my total was up near 300. I just made sure that even if I was knocked back, I was still moving forward like a couple of steps, because what you can shoot arrows at a wall, one of them will stick. Something will happen. It's not just going to be that you're staring out into an endless void and it's never going to come through for you. My other tip is to get a bar of chocolate, melt it down in a bowl in the microwave, and then eat it with a spoon. That's always usually pretty good for me. But yeah, I mean, get your favorite food, stick a film on, and just sort of pick yourself back up. It will work out eventually.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo some of Anna's comments, I mean, you can spin any in-place job experience into a positive that some way goes towards that experience quota. I mean, most employers really care about, have you ever been employed by anyone before? Like, are you just going to be a student fresh off the line who like doesn't know to turn up at like 9:30 and like work at their desk? They don't know how to talk to colleagues in like an appropriate way. I mean, that's what lots of like grad schemes are for, is actually teaching university students how to be in a business. So if you have any sort of on-job experience, like as a barista or like working in a charity shop at the weekends, like those skills of just talking to customers, like go with you into any other job that you have anywhere, because it's about people management. I mean, in terms of inexperience is something that I came up against, moving from physics into like science communication, because if you think about some classical ways of going into science communication, it's actually, so my inexperience wasn't in terms of me writing for the student newspaper, etc. It was actually physics experience that held me back at the beginning. Because if you think about high profile science communicators, they always like are like a professor, have a PhD, are like really specialized in a certain area. And so like I don't have a PhD in a particular area. I don't have a very niche, so it's not like I could do science communication in that vein. But that also opened me up to be a lot broader and like talk about lots of different subjects. And slowly I find my niche in quantum technologies at the moment, but that may change in the future as opportunities change. So normally inexperience is just a sign that you're either switching track quite dramatically, which means that you're not what the people applying for think they want. You need to make them believe that the skills you have is actually better than what they think they want. You're like, actually, I offer something that you're not quite looking for, but is probably better. It's quite a spin in your like cover letter, but you need to like learn to flex. And the other thing is always apply for jobs, even if you don't meet the like all the directed outcomes, because those are the worst things created by people in HR. And actually, even if you probably need to meet like 1 or 2 of them. I mean, I'm not saying go become like a police dog trainer, but like write off your physics degree, but like look at like jobs and actually see, well, okay, I meet one of the essentials, but not all of them, but I meet like 1 or 2 of the like advantageous or whatever the next one down is, the next section, and be like, well, actually I meet 1, 2, 3, and I've got some experience somewhere that I can sort of twist to these other ones. So don't think of those rubrics as like firm guidelines. Yeah.
That's brilliant advice. And actually that was going to be my next question, was about how do you present your degree to careers and jobs that are outside the area of, they say, you know, this person's from physics, but maybe the more obvious choices. So things like acting and social work. And I think that is it. It's about, unfortunately, it's about spin, but you've got so much to spin. There's a question that I would love to cover is, like for Ella's case, I've been suggested Germany as an optimal location for a PhD. Are there similar countries that you recommend to check out? I just will say from a PhD perspective finances are hugely important. So if you're looking for the cheaper or more better value costing and that, by all means. But when it comes to PhD, it must be something that you're passionate about, that you're willing to do for 4 years, not just like a 9-to-5 job, but genuinely that creeps into your life and you pour your heart and soul into. Also, the team and your supervisor, you must have a personal connection and get on with them, because you will be spending a lot of time and a lot of other hours with those people. So before looking at other countries, make sure those boxes are ticked first. So now I will push to Ella about her experiences in Germany.
Yes. So I'm not doing a PhD at the moment, I'm doing my master's, but I can only recommend going abroad to study. One, you just get a completely different perspective. Like, again, reflecting on this question about being 30, when I also took a gap year before I started my degree. So in my bachelor's, I already felt old. Then when I left my bachelor's and I went to Italy, everybody was saying, you're a baby. And I was like, what? Everybody in England tells me that I need to like get my life together now. And I just think this is so important about going to another country. Like, actually in Germany, where I've spent the last like 2 years, it actually takes a lot longer to do your bachelor's. People are doing their bachelor's for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years was the longest I've heard. But maybe there's not a rush. And now I'm living in Vienna in Austria, and I can also recommend Austria. So the fees here are even less than in Germany. And what that gives you is this kind of element of flexibility and not feeling the pressure, I think, as much as in this insane system that the UK developed, where you feel like really pressured to stay in your field, even if you're not really into that anymore. And yeah, so I would really look into studying in a different place.
I mean, one thing that really echoed with what you just said, Ella, was this idea of like being in a rush to like meet milestones and goals. And one of the best decisions I made for me was I did my master's part-time. And literally everyone I spoke to, by the time I had completed it, was like, oh my God, I wish I had also done it part-time. Because A, you sort of get to do the course twice. The coursework is spread out over 2 years, so you're not like constantly like dying to be like, oh my God, I'm not going to like write these 4 essays in time. But it also allowed me to work alongside it and gain like industry experience and like do more creative things round about. And that worked for that course. I know not all master's courses are, and I wouldn't say everyone needs to do a part-time course, but I think for me, it was also like, if you are going to do a course in the UK where like costs are a bit higher, maybe it is more financially achievable doing it part-time, because then you can work alongside it. But then it's managing working and doing a part-time degree, which was quite stressful at times. But I think I actually got more out of the degree course because it meant I could do all the options. Because I could actually I didn't just have to pick one option of the course, I could do both, one year, the next.
And just a short critic on these 1 year master courses, I think that is such a short amount of time to get your head around a master's. Like, you start to think about this subject and then like you're just finding it really interesting, then all of a sudden it's finished. It like, even just spending 1 year thinking about something is not very long, I think.
Be in no rush. You'll be 30 in no time anyway, so it's fine.
Can we stop? Don't worry about time. Can we just stop with the whole nearly 30? Like,
oh dear.
So I think we'll do one more question before. I mean, obviously it's the panelists' time, so I will do this question because it's been upvoted quite a bit. Is how did you get in / find a job in your new field? So I feel that might be directed to Anna since she's recently started job, but obviously Henry and Ella, you've also, Henry recently joined. Is it reasonably recently you joined UCL? I mean, I've been here too long now.
Sure. I mean, it was pre-pandemic, so
yeah,
but not by
right
much.
Time.
Yeah. Who knows what time is anymore?
Exactly. I mean, you're not even 30, Henry, now. Like, who knows what time is? So, Anna, like, go ahead.
Honestly, it's just having a little look, see what's out there. I think that one of the massive benefits of technology is, again, like I've said, you can pretty much apply it anywhere in anything that you want to do. And technology doesn't just necessarily mean like one type of way. When you get into it, I'm a data engineer, so I build pipelines and work out plans of how data is going to flow into a company, be presented, that kind of thing. You've also then got analysts who are going to take that data and try and draw insights out of it. You've also then got data scientists who are going to go and discover or try out different kinds of working with technology and different things that are new, maybe, that other companies are looking into, and they kind of want to get a little bit of that as well. There's there's data architects as well who design entire systems and never actually write code ever. And honestly, I think you can probably just do whatever. So I looked at just job boards and had a little bit of a look around. And again, you can spin anything into what you need it to be. So when I got into that job, I think I remember talking about in the interview that the one of the things they really liked is because I'm from like a really small village up north. We only had a bus that turned up once every 2 hours, and that was if it turned up. So even just talking about the differences between that and me being like so interested in how on earth they managed to run such a complex system in TFL, like that was really quite important to them, that I sort of just showed a little bit of interest in the company. Again, just doing a little bit of research into the culture I can't express enough how important that is, honestly.
Brilliant. If either of you like to add to that, or like to add to how hard was it to find what you like as well? Because
I completely forgot to mention before, but I'm actually a data analyst as well. Like, I have a job on the side of my degree, and
it clearly takes up much of your thought space.
I've been at work all day actually, but and so really that was through a friend of a friend how I got this job. But I think my trump card was my physics degree, and just like it was kind of quite easy for me to walk into this interview and be like, yes, I'm comfortable with numbers, and like, you can hit me.
Go for it. Well, I will hand back over to Mark now, so he can do the closing. But just before that, I'd like to ask our panelists just to say a closing statement about this event or about what they've discussed today, their biggest take-home message. So Ella, would you like to start as your take-home?
I would say really, really don't worry, because something will happen to you, and say yes as much as possible.
Henry?
I mean, yeah, echoing Ella's, but my advice would be, you don't know, I guess think about yourself. What aspects of your personality call out to you? Like, do you like being talkative with people? Do you like working with other people? Like, try and find out what it is about you and your interests and the way you are as a person, and interact with the world, and try and find the job that matches that, or the strain that matches that. And that's what's going to keep you happy and enjoying your job, no matter how much it pays.
And Anna?
For me, it's that everybody just needs to remember you have a physics degree. I know that means very little currently while you are surrounded by everyone who has a physics degree, but I promise you, the second you get out there and you meet other people in the workspace, you have a unique set of skills that you can bring to any job. And yeah, just keep trying. I mean, if it's not going to work out the first time, which it likely won't, maybe just give it a whirl, just keep going, and it'll be absolutely fine.
Thank you so much, you three. It's an absolute honor to host you guys today. And the thing I will say is just be positive and just keep stabbing at it. And if it's not the right fit, you can walk away. And that's including PhDs, internships. You are not bound by any contract, because if that, I mean, in a way you are, but you're not. You can leave. And it's okay. And it's okay to put your hand up and say, I need help, or this doesn't fit. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you even stronger. So anyway, I will pass you back.